This is problem 8-95 from section 8.2.2. And it's talking about some cliff divers who have an equation of their flight path of this negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 400, which t is just their time and h is their height, so it's like x and y. It says use the vertex and the y-intercept to make a sketch that represents the dive, and it asks what form of the quadratic would be most helpful for each thing they want you to find the vertex and the y-intercept. Well, the vertex, we're going to have to do not this format. So let's deal with, we want the y-intercept first. The y-intercept is when x is worth 0, or in this case t is worth 0. So if I plug in t equals 0, I'm going to be left with h equals 400. So that is the starting value. They started way up at 400 and they dove down. Okay, so that's my y-intercept right there so far. And it's better to have it in standard form for this, which is like x squared plus something x plus something like that, like how it's given to us here. Now to find the vertex, this form is not the most helpful. It will be better to write it in graphing form. So let me just rewrite our question. I believe that's the right equation. Just double check. Yep. Alright, so if there's anything I can factor out first, that would be helpful. And they can actually be factored, they can be all divided by negative 16. So if I leave all this stuff left, and that equals h. Okay? So I do not want to factor this. I could and average the x-intercepts, but it's going to be quicker if I complete the square with this. Okay? So start with t squared. I split up the middle term, this negative 1t, into negative 0.5t, negative 0.5t, and I do my outsides of the box. Alright, so the top corner, if I multiply negative 1/2 times negative 1/2, should give me positive 1/4, or 0.25. Now in my parentheses I have negative 25. I need to get to positive 0.25. So I'm going to need to add 25.25 to that side. So that would be kind of inside my parentheses. Now, my parentheses are being multiplied by negative 16. So instead of just adding 25.25 over here, I need to add that times negative 16, because that's what I pulled out from everything. Okay? So now I'm going to rewrite this as a product. So that was t minus 0.5 squared, and we had that negative 16 in the front that we pulled out. I need to keep that there, equals h, then it's going to be minus, actually 404, if I multiply those numbers together. Alright, so I'm not just adding 25 and a fourth, and add negative 16 times that, because that was what we pulled out in the beginning. So last but not least, I'm going to just add that 404 over. I kind of happened backwards is what I wanted. Whoops. Undo that part. Okay, this stuff, make my decimal point. Alright, squared, and I'm going to add 404. That equals h, or it would equal y. So now what we were trying to do, what were we doing? We were trying to find the vertex. So if I look at the vertex, it's the opposite of this number. Keep this number the same. So positive 0.5, or 1/2, and positive 404 is the vertex. And this was much better to have in graphing form. Okay, so now I know my y-intercept and my vertex. It wanted us to make a quick sketch of this. So if I have, here's my axes, I was up at positive 400. And then my vertex is going to be at negative 1/2, so we'll call that, or sorry, positive 1/2, we'll call that there. And this is, let's say this is 404. Okay, and so we're going to be right up here. And it's going to be opening down. actually. So my divers, they're gonna jump up and then they're coming back down and pretend they would be back here, but that's not really happening in reality. Okay, but in mathematical, that would be the parabola. And it's opening down, which means this makes sense. It's opening down. It's a negative facing parabola. So it makes sense that you jump up not very far into it after, a half of a second. That's their highest point, and they start going down from there. But if they could have possibly go backwards, that would have changed the shape of it a little bit. So that's really for part A. At what height did the diver start his jump? That's your starting value. That's the y-intercept. That's right here. Okay. What is the maximum height? 404, which is the vertex. Okay, so you answered those questions already. So it needs to be in graphing form, which we do by completing the square to find the vertex. And the standard form is the best or easiest way probably to find the y-intercept.